Hey, how you doing? Today, it's Five Guys. Hamburger and fries. That's their specialty. So, let's see what we got. Lettuce, tomato, onion, and ketchup. They kind of make these old fashioned hamburgers. I like them. Small fry. And they use peanut oil when they're making the fries. But one thing I've noticed with these guys, they always put a bunch of extra fries in the bottom of the bag. Like, the bottom of the bag has fries as well as the container. Not a bad deal. Oh, and of course, my lemonade. Nice and tangy. Oh, have to have some ketchup with my fries too. They do make good fries here. Mm-hmm. I've noticed too their burgers are nice and juicy. They're not like all dried out and stuff. So to me, that makes a good burger too. So I was thinking today about it was back in about the mid 70s when my family got a CB radio. Stands for like Citizens Band Radio. I'm sure everybody's heard of CB radios. And they're sort of a thing of the past now, but they were really big back in the mid 70s, even into the 80s. Of course, they're famous because truckers used them a lot. Nowadays, I don't know if there's too many truckers still using them. I imagine there are. But there's also other forms of communication now, that's big with the new technology stuff. But there was a really large boom in CB popularity in the mid 70s. Including, songs and music and stuff that came out about them and everything. But there was a ton of people that rapidly took to communicating with CB radios. the popularity of them just took off, and it seemed like everybody had them then. I sort of think of it as the first form of a chat room. Because up until then, there wasn't really a widespread way that you could talk to other people that you didn't even know, in an environment where everybody could just chime in and say whatever they wanted to say. And it also sort of reminds me of the chat room stuff. People didn't use their official names and stuff on CB radios. They had handles, like anything like the bullfrog or something. You could have anything you wanted as a handle. What I used to go by back then was Lightning. So when I was on the CB, people always called me Lightning. Just a way that people used to protect their real identity. And once you got used to somebody's handle and you knew that they were on, say, Channel 21 or something, usually, say, in the evenings at like 7 o'clock or something, then you would just be talking to them, and some of the people, night after night, Another interesting point is that the max power for a CB radio was like 4 watts maximum. So you were broadcasting, through an antenna, and you're talking to, say, 15-mile radius is, say the normal range that 4 watts of power on those frequencies, was going to allow you to get to. So, after a certain time of talking to people, and a lot of these people had common interests, they were talking about CBs and stuff too, yeah, but also, any sports activity they were in, or, anything, oh, I got this good deal at Kmart today or something, they'd talk about anything. So over time, you would start to get to know these people, time after time of talking to them. Then it was sort of a natural progression that, say 10, 15 people that you normally talk to on this certain channel, they would all decide, hey, you know what, let's on Sunday morning, let's go for breakfast. Let's all meet up at the local IHOP, on such and such a road, at 10 o'clock in the morning, and just have a get together. Sort of like a meet and greet sort of activity, but then you're seeing the person face to face, and you can put a picture with their name, and you start to relate to them more and more. And then a lot of times you would end up with like friendships from this meet and greet and this activity and talking to them all the time. That next thing you know, you're out running around in other places with them. A lot of times, somebody would come into the group and they're sort of new, and they want help setting up their antenna or something. All right, well, next thing you know, we would just volunteer and join in with them, and hey, we can help you set up your tower or whatever, because the base stations would use a tower with an antenna on top of it. So then a lot of the people would volunteer, like, yeah, okay, Saturday at 11 o'clock, we can come over and help you install your new tower and your new antenna, stuff like that. Well, along with the tower and the antenna, you have to run a cable from your antenna into your house and into the room where you're going to put your CB radio, where you got the little setup, normally on like a little desk or something. Well, by that point, I was in high school basically, and I already knew how to solder and stuff. So I would volunteer to come over and help them run the cables and stuff like that too. Because when you buy the roll of cable, it doesn't have the ends on it. Normally, you install the ends, and when you strip the wires back, you solder them into the connector. You know, so a lot of times I would volunteer to do that too. Well, that made it easier too. In high school, when I was gonna start installing regular car radios and stuff like that, so it all sort of connected together too. But it was a huge boom. People really took to it as a way to, get in touch with other people. And that's why I call it like a chat room, It actually got so big that there used to be 23 channels on the CB radios, and then they had to expand to 40 channels. So, like in 1977, they went to 40 channels from 23. But I remember too, it got to be that big that there was little mom and pop stores opening up just to sell CB equipment. They were springing up everywhere. I remember sometimes they would be in like people's garages. Everybody would hear about it, and they'd be like, "Oh, did you see you know Joe's handy CB shop?" You go, "No, where's it at?" And you get the address from the person and start driving to it and everything, looking at where it's at on the map. And it turns out it's in like a regular neighborhood, just in somebody's garage. Now, in the beginning, the early days of CB, you had to have a license. So you had a call sign, like call numbers, because the FCC regulates all this, and they wanted to know who was tied to that call sign. So when you were talking on the CB radio, you would say something, and a lot of it had these 10 numbers, like 10-4 and 10-20, stuff like that. But then you would also say your call numbers. So, like if it was XVG 2323 or something, you would say that when you were transmitting, talking, keying your microphone and stuff. After a certain amount of time, somewhere in the early 80s, the FCC had so many requests for CB licenses and stuff that they quit requiring license. So like today, you don't even need one. You can just buy a CB and start broadcasting. You don't need a license or anything now. Of course, CB's not so big today, so because everybody has the internet and cell phones and everything else. Sort of a thing of the past. Kind of like that meal. That burger's gone, but it was good. Till the next time, take care of yourself, and I'll see you later.